watch. Let's take a look at the draft, though, because we're behind on this series. We're going to be catching up. We're going to be watching the recording of the first game here. So as we look through the draft, it was the Nocturne as the first pick. Gwen has been picked up for Zoom. So none of that utility, none of that playing safe. This is a top laner that can dominate.
Yeah, the Gwen for Zoom is a little bit interesting here. And the Camille last pick into the Gwen looks like it's actually pretty interesting. And the Shaco actually coming out for Kanavi. I didn't even see that until right now. First Shaco competitive play. Where's Chase at? We got to wake him up right now. I'm texting his phone, messaging him on Discord. I'm texting his mother. I'm just getting everyone possible to get this guy watching this game right now. He's been waiting for this moment for like 3 years.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. The Shaco and the Gwen, the clown and the voodoo doll up in the top side of the map. This feels like we could see an insane snowball out from JDG. We have had some mental drafts today, Dom. We've been blessed by just pure spice across the course of these drafts. Shaco is the last pick for Kanavi. I'm hyped. I cannot wait to see it. And I'm sure you've all seen this tormenting your solo queue games at home. We're over in WE's arena in Xi'an, hence the beautiful background there. But this hail of blades, Shaco. Already shenanigans, level 1, complete chaos. His first blood going the way of JDG here, but it's answered by WE 1-for-1 here. Absolute mayhem in the level 1, but hey, there's a Thresh there waiting for the hook cooldown. Are they going to be able to look for a little bit more? There's a hook coming on through, and a second kill. It goes the way of Kanavi. And after 2,527 days, Shaco is back in the LPL. Apparently, it's been over 2,000 days since Shaco was played in the LPL. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think the last person I remember playing in an LPL was actually Insect. But this is actually a really interesting level 1. A lot of the times you get these level 1 situations happening because Shaco is so dependent on getting that box set up. And one thing that's surprising here is that without even using Shaco's extra box that he had back there, JDG was able to win the fight. Normally, you have to force them to walk into boxes in order to win a level 1 with this champion.
Still, 2 kills going the way of JDG. 1 for Loken and 1 for Kanavi. And Loken, even though we were talking about his limited champion pool, certainly played a lot of Aphelios last year, has a Thresh alongside him, so he should be safe on that bottom side. It feels like this is all going to be about the top side, right? Yagao and Mole 1v1ing in the mid lane. Mole flashes forward, looking for a solo kill. One more auto would do the trick. The burn isn't enough. The corrupting pot can't do it. And Yagao survives.
I really thought Mole was just going to full commit onto it. Probably smarter to do this, but Kanavi's coming in from the top side.
Oh, no. Kanavi comes in. This is pure chaos already, Dom. I am loving this game right here. Is Kanavi's just going to be here to stop the wave being crashed? It gives time for Yagao to TP back in.
Good for Kanavi to help this freeze. Might end up forcing Mole's TP because of that. And yeah, I think we're going to see some interesting builds this game. Camille versus Gwen is definitely a matchup that is very, very skill intensive. Breathe, one of the best Camille players in LPL. Love that he's actually getting to play in here. But let's talk a little bit about the Shaco builds, because I feel like this is a champion that is super interesting, and there's so many viable builds. One thing that a lot of people have been complaining about is Stride Breaker. New Stride Breaker on Shaco. Really insane slow, and it helps with Shaco being able to damage targets, because relatively low damage until you have items on this champion.
But also, when you're going a Hail of Blades, right, it just holds them in place while you get those 3 auto attacks off, get your burst damage out, and then you go for the Shiv on the low health target, right? Definitely something powerful. Let's talk holistically, though, and talk about these compositions and kind of how we expect these two teams to play, because for WE, it feels cut and dry to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. This feels like they just want to dive in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see a full dive comp coming out. This Varus is going to be left alone while the Camille, Diana, and Nocturne dive in on a target. I just don't know if that's that good of a strategy here. One thing that could be interesting to talk about is the potential for AP Shaco in a game like this. With Hail of Blades probably not happening, but I think that into this much dive, AP Shaco would have been much more superior than AD here.
Yeah, certainly the box is doing a huge amount of damage. You can just jump in with your shivs. Yagao in trouble again. Beishang was looking to get involved, but won't quite happen for now. Yagao just looking to try and clear the wave as effectively as he can. LvMao so damn close to finding a hook there, and with his jungler in the lane just recalling, it would have been possible. I wasn't sure if that was Shaco then. That recall got real weird. I thought it was like a Diana or something. Looked like the moon, but yeah, interesting start here. Let's talk compositionally for JDG though, because This one is a little bit harder to pinpoint exactly how it works, especially with the Shaco. I'm not entirely sure how these team fights operate.
Yeah, I think it will definitely be difficult for JDG to survive the initial part of it. Loken has Cleanse, Exhaust, and a Thresh, like, so maybe he can survive it. But I still think that Kanavi is going to have to help play these fights front to back. He's going to have to drop boxes on his back line to prevent the enemy team from just one-shotting this Aphelios here. So a lot of interesting mind games are going to come out. And then the other thing that we have to see is how many sweepers World Elite decide to buy here.
Kanavi trying to make a play on the top side here. Zoom has his 5 stacks on his passive. Not going to be level 6 just yet, but Beishang moving up as well. Breed going to take a bad trade. W comes in though, as Breed will answer a little bit. Here comes Kanavi. The Halo Blaze, the Ignite comes in, the snip, and they just one-shot him. Beishang's arrived, but he's too late. No Moonfall, and it's an easy kill for JDG.
Yeah, this is a treat, man. My first series ever casting LPL, and I get to cast one of my favorite champions in the entire game. You're going to have to stop me, Munch.
You get Shaco.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to stop me. I'm going to talk about Shaco this whole game if I'm not careful. It's just too much.
I'm okay with that.
I can't do it. Well, I mean, since we're on the point, might as well throw out one more thing. We're going to have to see how many points in bots that the Shaco decides to put, but he's on to mid lane. Mole's getting pretty low. He has ulti, though.
Well, it's already over before it's begun. Just gets taken down. Kanavi and, I mean, Yagao wasn't even a part of that play. That was just Kanavi and LvMao. Kanavi now already with 3 kills for himself. He is snowballing out of control. He's going for that stride breaker that you talked about with the Iron Spike Whip already there. They could surely just go for a Drake if they want to here, with Yagao having infinite prio since Mole had to go back to base. You're winning out on that bot side once LvMao arrives there. Although I say that, maybe not. Elk gets a really good arrow there. Loken's pretty low.
And it looks like they wanted to start out Drake here, but Shaco doesn't want to do it with any type of contest coming in. Mao is forced to flash here. Ton of gold on the Shaco from the kill he just got mid and top. So we'll have to see what he ends up buying here. Probably just go towards this stride breaker. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that could happen here. Beishang on the dragon, but it doesn't look like JDG is going to contest it.
Yeah, they're quite happy to let that one go away. As you can see, Kanavi just pathing up towards the top side. I do just want to do a tiny little PSA here for everyone watching. Everyone likes to spam in Twitch chat LvMao instead of LvMao. It is LvMao. It's pronounced LvMao, not LvMao. So for anyone in Twitch chat that thinks they're a bit of a memer, let's take another look at the gank mid lane though, because, I mean, Mole just didn't see it coming.
Yeah, really high value gank, and this is one of the best parts of LvMao when he actually ends up, you know, having pressure bot lane. His ability to roam was top tier. When JDG was one of the best teams in the world, this is what they were about, this mid-jungle synergy and enabling Kanavi to just do whatever they want. So support roaming to mid, especially the roams from top side of mid. I feel like it's so hard to deal with when you get ganked from this angle.
Guardian blocking the whole arrow there. I'm curious what Zoom is going to be able to do in this game as well, because when we look at the top lane matchup here, there's already a big CS lead in favor of Zoom. You can see he's about 200 gold up individually right now, but his Ignite is going to come off of cooldown shortly. And I feel like Gwen, when your Ignite is up, you just have so much kill threat. It's absolutely disgusting. Has the level 6, and now Kanavi sneaking into this lane as well. You got to believe Breathe might be in trouble here, and we all know that Breathe, while he can carry, he's also quite happy to go aggressive in trades and look for fights individually. Zoom trying to bait it. Goes for the snip. Breathe doesn't bite the bait.
Yeah, and the thing that you have to consider here is how much gold the jungler for JDG is sitting on right now. Over 2k in his pocket, so he does want to recall it and spend this. Looks like he's staying on the map until he has his completed stride breaker, to be honest, Munch.
Looks like he might be. Mole's moving up. We do have a Herald on the cards here. 2,000, and it looks like Beishang should be able to smite this one with the eye. Takes that one. None of that on it. SOFM nonsense of not smiting when the enemy jungler is nearby. Especially against a Shaco. You really can't risk that. But Loken does manage to get himself 2 plates in the bottom side while the Herald's going down. So unless a tower is taken by WE with this Herald, it's already traded evenly by JDG.
And plate went to the side of JDG as well, top side. Man, you're dealing with a completed stride breaker Shaco at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. This champion is completely unleashed on the map right now.
This is scary for WE, to be quite honest. And, you know, Mole having a couple of opportunities in the laning phase to get himself minor leads, but then falling to that gank, losing control of this matchup now. Was that paranoia used by Yagao just to...
Yeah, I think it was
I
probably
guess it was
just
about to run out of cooldown, yeah. It does feel like he had control of that matchup, but ultimately, we were looking at Mole today. We were saying, hey, what's he going to be able to do? He's subbed back in over Shanks. So far, not really able to have the impact that we wanted.
It's not looking like a super good game from him. He got some pressure mid lane with that force of Yagao's flash and TP level 2, but it feels like JDG's just been all over it. I mean, the constant threat of Shaco mid, and then the top side gank from LvMao ended up really messing up Mole's lane phase, and it pretty much allowed Yagao to get through it completely unscathed.
Yep, and now he's Sylas beyond level 6. The advantages are running out for the side of Mole, because Sylas don't get any easier to face up against, and he does have his Iron Spike Whip and has a bit of healing reduction, very importantly, so the 1v1 should still be at least a bit Mole favored in my mind, but depends on the spell shield, depends on how the matchup always goes. But Elk now gets an opportunity onto this bot lane tower, and Beishang is here with a Herald. They should at least be able to get 3 plates, maybe even 4.
Let's spawn this Herald really early. You do end up getting 4
still
plates,
doesn't
though.
get the 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Alright,
really
they get
nice.
the 4 plates. Not too shabby, not too shabby. They can't quite finish the tower, but to be honest, even if they waited a bit, I'm not sure they would have had an opportunity to get the tower themselves. LvMao playing with fire there, I'm not going to lie, but the Lantern comes out, keeps himself safe, dodges away from the Zenith blade. Look where Kanavi is. No vision on him just yet. Just now, Yagao moving over as well. But I don't think they'll find anything just yet. Kanavi playing very sneakily here. But I don't know if he'll find anyone roaming through this jungle. There are no camps up right now, so I think, unfortunately for him, this is going to be a foray into the unknown that doesn't quite achieve anything. 40 seconds on the next Drake, though, Dom. Feels like that could be our next moment for action. WE got the first one. With how strong Kanavi is, I'm not sure that they could look for a second.
Yeah, and especially walking into a setup like this, it's really hard to check onto boxes, and Kanavi looks like he's able to get the setup here. There's a box right now in the Wraith side bush here. Mo looks like he's going in, though.
He wants to. Kanavi's there. Flash immediately from Mole as Yagao trying to threaten the 1v1, trying to bait Mole into going for the commit, but Kanavi doesn't quite find an opportunity. It feels like Kanavi very, very proactive on the map, right? He's 10 CS down, and a lot of that is down to the fact that he's spent so much time in these lanes. Not really been able to convert much since getting that hat trick. He got that a long time ago as Beishang. He's like, all right, they're going to go for the Drake. I'm not bothered. Let's go for a dive at the top side. Double TP immediately. Breathe. Diving underneath the tower, but Gwen is pretty difficult to dive. A lot of damage coming on through. Yagao here to answer as well. The turret shots doing a lot of work. Can Yagao finish these targets off? Kinslayer in. Flashes back underneath the tower. Now Mole and Breathe low on HP. Breathe goes back underneath. Has the damage. One more shot. Will not finish the job. And WE win out the dive.
It didn't look like Yagao got that second Kingslayer off. Potentially, he might have been able to survive that and turn it around under turn if he did. But this is going to be plates going to the side of WE here. It's looking pretty good for them so far, and all that was really taken by JDG on the other side of the map was the Dragon. Don't think it matters too much, the 13-minute first Dragon here for JDG.
And I just love games like this, when we have both teams with different win conditions finding different objectives, right? We see the cross-map play where Kanavi gets himself the Drake, but in the meantime, the dive happens in the top side, and it's won out by WE. So gold going to be just about even, maybe slightly in favor of WE. We can take another look as the Gwen just completely alone to start it off. It is difficult.
Yeah, and this is a good response to knowing that the enemy team is going to be taking Dragon here from WE. They know that Kanavi can't be here as the Dragon's going down, and this is actually really clutch. It stopped his W there, it looked like. It almost canceled the W. It could have canceled Yagao's Kingslayer, and yeah, that was actually huge, because if that goes off, man, it's going to be really ugly under that turret. Potentially, Yagao gets 2, maybe even 3 kills from that.
Yeah, that would have been pretty disastrous if he's able to sustain up for himself there. We'll return onto the map as WE try and make a play on this bottom side. Beishang nearby, but Loken has red and white weapons. It's not something you can dive. That's just too dangerous, right? If Aphelios just presses Q on his red weapon, he's going to shred everyone. Drake not up for another 3 minutes, and JDG trying to mirror what WE do, trying to follow Beishang around the map, but won't find the chance to fight just yet. feels like things have slowed down for JDG. It does feel like they're playing much more reactively to what WE are doing on the map right now.
Yeah, this is where it becomes pretty hard for the jungler for JDG to actually make something happen on the map. Normally what you'd prefer, honestly, with Shaco is lanes that are getting pushed in so you can make use of your Q, your deceive over these walls. He wasn't able to do it. So itemization coming out. Second item, Serrated Dirk. This could be a lot of different things. A lot of times Serpent's Fang is considered a pretty good item here. Would make a decent amount of sense. It's going on to Breathe though.
Kanavi just goes straight in. Stride Breaker down. The box knocked out by the Hextech Ultimatum. Breathe manages to get away with it. I can't believe, I didn't even know that worked like that, but the box just completely denied. And Beishang tried to start the Herald, but with your top laner leaving, I don't know if you can go for that one. TP available for Breathe, but looks like WE not going to commit to that one. They're just going to allow this to go to JDG. Then again, TP channeled here.
I think that WE could potentially fight this. No ulti on Zoom.
Wait, Elk is in base. Elk is in base right now. This is a 5v4 in favor of JDG. If their AD carry can get over, but he's over in the mid lane. Moonfall comes on through. 3 strong for WE, but they're getting taken down. There's a Moonlight Vigil. And snippety snip for the side of JDG as they look for the Herald as well. Missing still here. Breathe still here, but with Beishang down, surely the objective goes the way of JDG.
That's surprising there that WE opted into that fight with their AD carry being based. They're missing though. Doesn't look like they're going to be getting anything off that. Yeah, I mean, they saw Loken mid too. It's not like the AD carry did this sneaky rotation. Loken's sitting in the mid lane collecting minions while Elk is in base and World Elite WE deciding to go for this fight as well. So a pretty interesting decision here, confusing decision from WE, but they do end up getting the top turn off of it, so it's not all bad. And as you can see in this replay,
at least they get something.
Yeah, it's just a straight up 4v5, and especially with Diana getting cooked, not even able to get the ulti off before he is forced to stopwatch. Ends up getting it off later, but doesn't even end up getting the damage proc. And if that went off, maybe they could have had a chance in this 4v5. But yeah, I think the Thresh hook just ended up sealing the deal, forcing the stopwatch out. And that's going to be really interesting for the next Drake fight coming up here in 45 seconds, because Beishang no longer has a stopwatch for it.
Starting to lean the way of JDG here, and especially with Gwen having an item now, 115 for Zoom. Feels like this is the kind of, I mean, honestly, you could be like 0-4 on Gwen, and I still feel like you could take over a fight if you've got an item or two. Never mind when you're even or ahead. I feel like Zoom is just set up to destroy here. So long as he doesn't get one shot by Mole and Beishang, you can just take over a fight. And when you've got this much threat from Zoom, from Kanavi, from Yagao, Loken on this Aphelios has so much freedom to do whatever he wants in the fights. Like, if you focus Loken, then you're going to get taken down by these other carries. But if you try and deal with the skirmish that's happening on the front line, then Loken gets to just free fire and he's on Aphelios. Like, either scenario is great for the side of JDG.
Yeah, I think it's completely fine. Also with the cleanse, the shield bow, and a Thresh, I don't think that it's that easy to actually kill this Aphelios in some of these fights. So Dragon is up, but neither team actually seems to care about it. They know it's going to be a Cloud Soul this game, so Dragon not having the same priority when this soul is the one that is RNG'd.
Yep, can be valuable. Certainly Gwen, big fan of the Cloud Soul, right? Having 3 procs of your ultimate so you can just dash around. If you didn't have enough mobility already, the Cloud Soul can help Gwen out a little bit, but honestly, the big value is really just the ult CDR that you get from having multiple Drakes, right? I think that's really what most of the teams are going to go for here. Is JDG will be able to take the Drake. They also get pressure on the mid lane tower as well. They're starting to snowball themselves a little bit of gold lead here. As the tower goes down, they'll head up towards about 2,000 gold. And it's feeling like JDG primed in a great position. Aphelios ahead of the enemy Varus as a better scaling champion. Kanavi even steals away a red buff. LvMao is here with Lantern if one of his teammates needs it. The blast gun going to be used here, but into the pit goes Mole. He's gone way too deep on that one. Yeah, that's big trouble for Mole. Doesn't have his flash available. Doesn't want to use it if he can help it. Strike Breaker. There's a move on 3. What a fight from WE. Mole was baiting all along, and JDG left to scatter to the winds.
Yeah, JDG full committing on that Nocturne in the pit, but Beishang comes around the backside with the Moonfall. I really feel like the Diana ult was just the deciding factor in this fight. Did so much damage. Love to see some damage graphs after that one, because that was that was Diana's dream right there.
It really was. I'm kind of sad for Beishang, honestly, that they only got 1 kill. Like, 4 people escaped that play from JDG. Everyone's somehow surviving. And, like, they barely even used any summoner spells from the side of JDG. I'm not really sure how they got away with it quite in the way that they did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a lot better than expected. One of the deceiving things, the Shaco clone was one of the things that got 1 shot there. So, yeah, we'll have to see how it works here. It looks like Yagao is just completely caught out, though.
Bit of a weird fight here. Kanavi is with him. Going to jump over the wall as they've got LvMao over. WE can't find the pick that they were looking for. Tower goes down. Another gold advantage here for JDG. Even after that fight, still ahead in gold. 1,000 up in their favor. And now they have enough control on this bottom side with both of those tier 1s taken, or with a tier 2 taken as well, that they can start to take all of this jungle away from Beishang. This is where it gets really hard for junglers.
Yeah, definitely gets really hard for junglers here. And I think that something that is worth mentioning here is the Aphelios with the Collector here, lethality being buffed on this patch, so definitely a new option. But I really feel like this fight was just losing track of the Diana. They're so focused on trying to get Mole in this pit that when Diana gets this three-man Moonfall, there's not really any counterplay to it. LvMao ends up living here with like less than 50 HP. But onto the bot lane, Kanavi's onto Breathe.
Wait, Breathe is getting 1v1 by Kanavi. That's a jungler versus a top laner. That's not meant to be how the game works, but Kanavi just annihilates Breathe. The value on the fear that came out in that team fight as well. You mentioned the clone getting 1-shot by the Moonfall. The boxers fear the entire squad of WE. And now Kanavi getting a pick by himself. It feels like JDG, even though the gold is pretty even, even though the game has felt pretty even, in terms of map control right now, JDG just running amok.
Definitely, and I think that part of it is also WE probably not being that practiced into a composition like the one that JDG has. So they're walking around the map. They always have to consider where is Shaco, are walking into boxes, and it completely alters the way that you generally play the game. Big thing here is that to get this turret bot side, as we see on the replay in the bottom right, the Camille used his E, so didn't have the way out, which is normally guaranteed escape versus a champion like Shaco. So Eing into that turret, the hook shot kind of ended up selling him out there.
Beishang gonna check the brush with it. Oh no.
Yuck.
Elk. It is what it is. It happens. I feel like Varus is one of those abilities that's pretty easy to miss. Missing gonna have to face check now, but look, complete vision control in favor of JDG. Feels like WE, they're gonna have a real hard time being able to face check this Baron.
Yeah, Varus ult just going wide there. That's something that we've seen multiple times. As a fan of competitive play, like I feel like AD carries just have some mental block with this ability as well. You know, like they've missed it so many times in the past, it almost feels impossible to hit it now.
It's like one of those moments, like you see the camera like zoomed in on their face, they're sweating, they know they've got to hit this ultimate, the pressure. It's like penalties in the Euros, honestly. You can see the pressure that comes out when they press the R key. The difference is they can do it every 60 seconds, so not quite as rare as penalties. Here we go though, Drake coming up in 35 seconds. Kanavi already having the crab. You expect JDG, I think they're just going to get this one for free.
Yeah, and since we're speaking about the Euro, game probably should have went to penalties if the ref wasn't British. So, you know, we'll see what ended up happening. Yeah, I'm just gonna roast you on this cast.
Right, okay, I'm just gonna take a moment and say, like,
defend
that ref,
your people.
That wasn't just that he's English. He was just incompetent. Let's be real here. Like, there was so many calls that were wrong across the entire game for both sides. Like, that was a messy game to say the least. But
we see you, Munch. We see you,
we can talk about that later. We can talk about that later when it comes home, all right? How's that? How's that? We'll talk about that after England wins tonight.
Okay, it's coming Rome,
definitely
number one. But okay.
That's where you're wrong, kiddo. We've both had empires. We'll see who wins the Euros this time. It's a bit of a whiff there as they go in for the fight. Zhonya's comes out from Yagao here. He will survive, at least for now. Kanavi's in the middle of everything, but it was a clone all along and the fear across the team. JDG just counting back at his Beishang to go down, but it's 1-for-1 here as Diana falls. And now 3-man strong on the backside for JDG, 3-man strong on the front side for WE. The re-engage comes out from Breathe. This could be the moment for WE. Loken going strong though, taken down. Yagao trying to trade it. There's a fear coming out onto Breathe, but not enough. Pure chaos in the fights, and it's only Kanavi to survive.
And this was a situation where Yagao not wanting to let Elk feel alone, stealing the Varus ult and then missing it himself. That ability just can't land or something. So this fight just going all the way of WE. It actually looked pretty good at the start for JDG with the clone being popped and the fear across the team. But at the end of the day, WE coming out ahead, and it looks like they're going to win the prize of the Drake here.
Looks like JDG were distracted by the Euros as well, and they weren't ready for WE to contest the Drake. Means it'll be 2-all in terms of the Drakes here as we broach the 25-minute mark. When we look across the scoreboard as well, we're starting to see that actually WE staying relatively even in items. We were seeing a bit of a lead start to build for JDG, but not really the case anymore.
Okay, Yagao doing his Elk impression, steals it, whiffs it, perfect. Honestly, good movement from Missing. And after this, WE knows it's their time to engage with the Sylas ult down, going straight onto Sylas. Was well played here by Kanavi. Ulting backwards here, since you can now choose your position on the Shaco ultimate. Hallucinating backwards, putting his clone in the middle, but it just seems like it's... Yeah, I mean, it just... I mean, we got two Varus ultis missing somehow in the same game. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, after the initial fight, it just feels like there's no damage coming out of JDG, and this is one of the problems with AD Shaco. The champion is really strong at picking off immobile carries. Things like Orianna, things like Varus are definitely vulnerable to the Shaco, but a bunch of bruisers normally don't care about this type of champion, especially with this bruisery build coming out of Kanavi. Interesting choice here as well. Normally, if you see a Mortal Reminder coming out, it means that the Shaco is going a crit-based build. The other one, obviously, being the Essence Reaver style Shaco, but he's actually going for Stridebreaker into Serpent's Fang into Mortal Reminder. Not sure how this one's going to work out.
Kanavi is a man of his own. We'll let him do what he wants. I'm excited to see it. We'll see where this build goes. As he has finished that third item that you're talking about, the Mortal Reminder, now just finished off there. But with the Drake going the way of WE, it does feel like JDG have relinquished some of that map control that we were talking about before. Baron is the next objective on the cards if either team is confident enough, but maybe Yagao with a flank here, we could just see a fight coming out instead. Yagao not quite going to be able to get the window he was looking for here. Will back away with the rest of his team. Beishang could find an engage here, but the Moonfall in the pocket of Yagao, they are like, maybe we don't want to fight that.
Also deterred by the Zanyas that Yagao has now completed. Gotta be careful about how you engage these fights. They're not gonna have the easy go button. Pretty hard to miss a Moonfall compared to a Varus ult, so not gonna see Yagao wasting that one most likely.
Yeah, not just yet, at least, as Breathe returns to the side lane. And this is the second time we're seeing a Camille today, and it's the second time that we're seeing the Camille get big. We saw it for Bin, and he was able to hard carry in some of those fights and put pressure on in the side lanes. Now Breathe, honestly a similar player in my mind, where really lane dominant, knows how to use a lead for himself. 4, 2, and 4, and now with 2.5 items for himself, we'll be able to put a lot of pressure down in these side lanes. So it makes it a lot more difficult for JDG to play the map.
Yeah, and I wonder if Zoom can even match the Camille in his side lane. Doesn't look like he wants to, at least. So that means that Breathe will be able to most likely secure side lane pressure for the remainder of this game.
Oh, Zoom's in trouble here. The needlework will give him some sustain, but it's not enough here. Oh, nearly goes down in Azonia's. It means Zoom actually survives. This one flashes out. Yagao has sacrificed himself to save his top laner, but the Lantern, JDG, the coordination from this squad to keep their solo laners alive. It's beautiful to witness. And WE can't even pressure the tower.
This is kind of a weird location for the fight, too. Kanavi looks like he's going in, though. They're not done.
Missing not really the target for that one. If that hook hits, LvMao pulls him into the fear. That could have been a pick there. Yagao trying to chase down. Look at Breathe, though, on the map. He's still going to continue to threaten in this bottom side, so JDG can't go too far.
Really smart from Breathe, sticking around there. Not showing on the vision yet, making JDG think that he most likely recalled, but he's walking back to bot tier 2 now, and they're going to have to respond to this.
Oh, they're going to respond with a Baron, though. They just run straight at the objective. Breathe does have his TP available for himself. Mole is here. Paranoia is on cooldown right now, so this could be difficult for WE to make their way in. The box just to buy space here. 3,000 on the Baron. It's going to be a smite fight, and it is going to be taken out by Yagao in the end. Now the skirmish in the middle of the pit, but Yagao is taking over. Mole can't do anything. They can't get in here. Breathe finally engaging, but the health bars are too low, and the AoE damage is too great. Loken on the Aphelios just firing away as missing falls. The ace for JDG, and the Demon Dogs come out on top.
Yeah, JDG coming in here, trying to start the Baron in order to just win the TP from Breathe. But because of the lackluster approach from WE, JDG able to just secure the Baron for completely nothing. And they end up winning a team fight on top. Big swing in this game right now, Munch.
Huge in favor of JDG as well as they push onto a tier 2. Dragon is just spawning, so you expect JDG could maybe just run straight at that. Beishang respawning in 5 seconds. I think JDG should be able to burn it down in time.
Yeah, definitely. They've definitely got this Dragon too. So big swing. JDG suddenly in control. WE not pulling the trigger fast enough on the contest. And yeah, the game is all for the taking now for them.
This is looking good for JDG. Game number 1 in the series with a Shaco in the draft of all things. This would be a hell of a way to start the series for JDG. Let's take another look, because this fight got really chaotic in the pit.
Yeah, and as you can see, the Baron is down to 1k. It's actually dead before Breathe even is able to contest it. And Loken in the back of the pit firing away completely untouched. He's able to do so much here. Breathe even with a good selection onto the real Shaco, not hitting the clone at all. But it's just a little bit too late. And Loken able to output so much damage in this team fight. Stuck in the back of the pit here. JDG poised to take this game now.
And Beishang got his Moonfall the first part off. He pulled everyone in, but died before the second proc, so doesn't get the damage out. And honestly, that really could have been the difference. I think if he finishes that Moonfall off, the damage across the whole squad, when you're 2 items on this Diana, almost 3, I feel like that could have been enough to turn things around, and maybe Breathe could have finished off at that point. But now, JDG have control of the map. They're pushing in multiple lanes. As Kanavi does need to be a little cautious, but he's on Shaco, so he's always going to be relatively safe here. Can clear away the vision as they can push multiple lanes with this Baron buff. Kanavi doesn't have the buff himself, so they do need to send Zoom off to this bottom lane. But they are just going to stay as a group, not splitting up, not trying to pressure multiple lanes at the same time, making sure they stay safe.
And I think that this is due to the fact that the Nocturne can deny vision, as well as them not having the TPs. Looks like the cannon is going to just be able to take this turret by itself now, though.
Yeah, Loken just walks up and gets the last hit in as well. Does have the shield from his overheal here. And that'll be the bot inhib taken. Crucial objective there for JDG. Pressure on the bottom side for the rest of the game. And it doesn't feel like, I mean, obviously a Camille pretty good at dealing with those super minions, but certainly Elk. Usually you'd like your AD carry to be able to sweep up that goal, but Lethality Varus really not good at dealing with the super minions. Now the siege continues. There's no Baron buff remaining for JDG. It looks like that's enough for them to back away.
Yeah, so, I mean, winning the bottom inhib, the most important one with this Baron buff, is going to be enough for JDG here. Dragon and Baron going to be slightly decent. Although WE most likely won't care about the Cloud Soul at all at this point. It's really just about making sure that they're able to get a fight that's on their own terms instead of being forced into one by JDG's actions like the last one started.
And I feel like these fights have been so strange to watch, but Loken on this Aphelios has ultimately been one of the big carries. Him and Zoom as well, I feel like, is doing a lot of the work on this Gwen. But this Shaco, I don't know, it works in a weird way that I wasn't necessarily expecting, where he has ended up becoming somewhat of a support in the later stages, where he is sort of frontlining a little bit, using his hallucination, but mostly dropping boxes on his own carries so that it's difficult for Mole and Beishang to get in there. You were talking about it before, being able to drop boxes on the back line, but for Nocturne, it's so difficult to get in. If you have to spell shield while you're flying in, you're so vulnerable once you do get into the fight.
Yeah, and he's playing the Shaco really well. I would have loved to see how it would have turned out with the AP. I know I mentioned it before, but with this type of playstyle, that is one of the most annoying things because it increases the fear duration.
Pick on Yagao here, but he had the stopwatch and he will flash out to safety. He uses his own paranoia, the Kingslayer as well. Redemption in, and Yagao just absolutely rinses Mole. Oh well, It's already gone. That's everything WE had in the tank, and now JDG once again completely control the map.
JDG in a great spot right now. But yeah, you're completely right about the front lighting from Shaco. It's the dive being denied. The win condition from WE was being able to get onto this Aphelios and one-shotting him with all your dive members. But with Kanavi playing this pseudo front line where he's able to ulti, force people to hit the clone, deny AoE damage, because even if Beishang gets off a monster ult, a lot of the AoE is just going to end up killing the clone by proxy, and that's going to just create a situation where that fear could be the determining factor on whether you live or not. So yeah, I mean, the Shaco has a ton of value here still, and like you said, Loken being able to free hit in a lot of these fights seems to be carrying JDG over the line here.
And I think people often underestimate quite how long the fear lasts from Shaco. When you get feared in the middle of a team fight by a Shaco box, you're out of the fight for like a full second at least a lot of the time, unless you've got Mercs, which, let's be honest, nobody's building Mercs on this side of WE, so it does feel very difficult in these fights to maneuver around the boxes. And now Drake coming up in 20 seconds. WE know they have to contest. They're 6,000 gold down. JDG in prime position to finish the first game in this series, to look for a good start here. Both teams managing to make their most recent series happen, and now the engage comes out from Mole once more. They're onto Loken, but the Lantern keeps him safe. And now WE, once again, they've used everything, and it's all into Zhonya's, it's all into Lantern, it's all into defensive abilities. And now Yagao, the better Diana in the game, manages to get a GA out, manages to get a kill onto the support, manages to find a pick off a LvMao's hook. It's just too good to be seen from JDG. 3 easy kills. They make the fights look just too good.
And I think that this ends up just being the ending for JDG here. It looks like they're going to be able to end right here, but they didn't get the Baron. So some teams would argue that this was actually a win for WE. I know TSM does that trade frequently, the Baron for Nexus, and in this situation, I would say it's not that bad.
That's one thing I will say. The macro here at the end of the game, not going to do so hot for scaling into the series here from JDG. But hey, in terms of the game, they've scaled beautifully. They managed to win it out, and honestly, that last fight did feel like a bit of a comp difference, right? Mole flying in, once again, just denied, can't find the picks. And as you said earlier, Nocturne, the longer the game goes on, the harder it is to have a significant impact. But I will say, I'm again feeling this little feeling in my gut of like, look, we have Mole on this squad for WE. If you're going to play Mole, please, just give him an AP carry. Give him something that he can dominate team fights on. I'm not sure that this Nocturne is really the pick. Like, obviously his Zoe, things like the Syndra, even though it's not that meta, even the Orianna, like, I'd love to see him just on stuff that he's more comfortable on, that he can individually carry a little bit harder on, because these kind of facilitating picks don't seem to be working.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen RNG defer back to these picks like you mentioned. The Orianna came out yesterday, and it looks pretty potent for them. I feel like there's an under-prioritization on the APs just because of how strong a lot of these melee mid laners are. But even though, you know, Mole didn't look bad on the Nocturne, he just doesn't look as good as he looked with V5. I mean, this guy was absolutely 1v9ing series for that team over the last couple splits. So I definitely agree with you that this would be a better approach into the second game, potentially going for an Orianna style comp. I think it could work out. Play Orianna, let Breathe carry, let Beishang do his thing, and see what happens from there.
Just feel like WE we're just searching for opportunities at the end, though, right? We saw multiple engages where Mole just flies in, and you know, Beishang tries to follow up, but it just wasn't quite working out. Kanavi is going to be our MVP coming out there from game number 1, and I think a deserving MVP from him as well. Kanavi, really, really great performance, bringing out the Shaco of all picks and making it look like maybe this should be better.
Yeah, it looked really good. I mean, this was kind of the dream start, I will say. Getting a kill at level 1 with Shaco is absolutely amazing. But he made his presence felt throughout the game, and he did so much work in fights. I think one of the misconceptions is that Shaco is all about dealing damage. But the champion actually doesn't function like that. There's a ton of utility built into the kit, and it felt like he was able to make use of his ultimate, of his boxes, in order to fear multiple targets within fights. So definitely deserved MVP. Well played from Kanavi there. And yeah, hopefully we see more Shaco in the LPL. I'm down.
I'm definitely down to see more of it, and more quote-unquote carry jungler. Certainly a carry jungler in the early game, and as you're saying, more of a utility when it comes to those team fights. Great performance out from him. Great performance across the board from JDG, and especially I just want to highlight Loken in that one, because coming into the series, we kind of criticized Loken. This bot lane from JDG has been struggling all split long. We had substitutions mixing about. Went for a different pick, went for this Aphelios, and it worked out beautifully. Looked good in the fights as well. So looking to see more of that kind of stuff from Loken moving on. But we're going to jump into a break, and we'll have